Have you ever looked at your numbers at the end of the month and thought, wait, how are we this far off? Or maybe you've asked your front desk, hey, how are things going? And you heard, things are fine. Only to find out a few weeks later or even a few months later, things were definitely not fine. And so, look, in this video, I want to show you the exact three tools that help me go from having zero visibility or understanding as to what was going on at my front desk and how I ended up building a front desk system that actually produces consistent results every single month without me having to micromanage every single second. And so here's what we're going to learn in this video and in this training. The first one is the number one tool that I use to help my front desk get 10 times more accountability and production. The simple Google tool that helps create a weekly and a monthly reporting system that tells me exactly how we're doing. And then number three, the fast and simple no stress tool that I use to train my front desk without having to repeat myself 20 times. And so this is the exact system I've used not only in my own cash practice, but with our clients who went from having not a clue or no idea what was happening up front at the front desk to hitting some of the highest monthly revenues they have without having to hire a bunch of new front desk staff or spending a ton more on ads. So this was the exact situation that I found myself in my cash practice. I'd begin to grow. I was too busy because I was seeing a lot of patients. I'm seeing almost all the patients in the practice at that point because I was treating a lot and still trying to grow. And we finally got to the point where we could hire some staff. And so I hired my first front desk admin, thinking it was going to be the best thing that ever happened to me because now I finally had somebody to take some phone calls off my plate, help start tracking some numbers, and just get it ultimately where we wanted to go. And we had big aspirations to bring on our first provider that year as well. And the way that I was going to do that is I was going to start to use some paid advertising to kind of take our practice to the next level. Now, this meant we were starting to switch from a cold or from a warmer audience where people knew who we were. We were getting word of mouth referrals, doing workshops, and all these kind of things. To now, suddenly this traffic was going to be a little bit colder, meaning they had not a clue who we were. And so, I'd finally turned some ads on. I was paying a marketing agency to help me run these things. And what happened was I went into our CRM that kind of came with a marketing company. It's like, hey, we had 25 leads. This sounds great, right? And then I went in and I looked and I figured out we had converted only one of those 25 leads into an eval, and they actually didn't come in and buy a package. And so I had a major problem on my hands, right? I'm spending money on marketing and I'm spending money on somebody to sit at the front desk and actually handle some of these things, but the results were not even close to what I needed. And so I had a conversation with her. It took me 3 or 4 weeks to actually figure this information out. And I had a conversation with her, and it took us another 3 to 4 weeks to kind of triage the problem and figure out how to do it. And so now here I was 2 months into this problem before I actually started to implement some changes and some tweaks. And this is the exact same situation that a lot of practice owners find themselves in, meaning they don't find a problem until 2 or 3 months later. And then it takes them a month or two to train. And then they spend a month or two just kind of dealing with subpar performance, hoping that things improve. When really we need to know this information at the end of a day or even at the end of a week. And this is where tools and having tools in your practice helps give you a better idea and a better understanding of exactly where things are and how things are going. No matter how busy you are, you need to have a simple system to be able to keep tabs on how your front desk is doing. And you also don't want to be micromanaging them constantly. Having a weekly or daily meeting where you're just hammering the same details, you're just talking about the same stuff over and over and over again. And we need your front desk to be able to course correct themselves, meaning they submit an end of week report and say, well, numbers aren't where I need to be. So I need to reach out to my supervisor so that I can get some improvement. Or they look at these numbers and say, "Ooh, this is a challenge. Here's what I'm dealing with." Or, "Hey, I can't remember what my boss said when we were like role playing that phone call last week. I wonder what he would say in this situation, and how do we actually fix that?" And so, what I want to cover now are really the three tools that I implement in my practice so that my front desk runs on semi autopilot. And now we've got the tools and processes in place to make my front desk's life a lot easier and our clients' front desk lives a lot easier so that we can actually get the performance that we want and we're not freaking out months after the fact. So, the first big tool that I typically use is you absolutely have to have a CRM in your practice. A CRM is a place where you house all of your customers' information in one place. I use Go High Level because it works great with our Facebook ads, running around landing pages, and all that kind of stuff. Another really common one is HubSpot. Those are the two big ones that most cash practice owners are using at this point. But we have to absolutely have it because what happens is most front desks, they've got like sticky notes and they've got like notes in their phone or stuff they've written down on their desk. And they're just trying to remember, oh, yeah, I need to follow this person in 2 weeks. Oh, this person asked me to text them tomorrow at 2 p.m. And you've just got all of this like really confusing information all around. Or, hey, that person wants me to call them in like a month or two because they're traveling and they're coming back in town. Or, hey, this person objected to insurance and I'm just not real sure what to do with them at that point. And what a CRM allows you to do is kind of get rid of a lot of that noise. Is you can create task reminders for yourself. And this is a big one where, you know, hey, I need to follow up with this person tomorrow. And now your admin can actually, go in and set a task for herself or himself, and they can pop right back on tomorrow and just basically work off of that task list. The other thing that it does is it can categorize leads for you. So, like if I've got a bunch of new leads that came in from marketing, it can categorize that information at the top. And so now, instead of me showing up to work and your admin's like, oh, what are the three or four like people I need to follow up with? Like, let me just like look through everything. Or what most of you guys do, you just like use a phone and like a Google Voice number or something. You're just kind of like thumbing through text message. Okay, how many text messages did we get last night? Okay, and it's just really inefficient because I'm trying to follow up with people. But I'm not real sure the direction to go. And a CRM basically categorizes all of that information, puts it in one nice location, and now that admin can stay much more organized. And you can create what's called pipelines, where basically I can just click over to the pipeline and I can just see exactly the leads that I need to follow up with. All right, great. Let's check our Facebook leads. Okay, we got two to follow up with. Let's check our website leads. Okay, I got one. Okay, organic, where people just kind of called in. They're already in this list as well. Great, let's reach out to them. And now it's a very easy, streamlined process to find the warmest leads. But more importantly, it also helps you find those leads that kind of slip through the cracks where, hey, I've called this person two or three times and I didn't get an answer for them. So what happens to them at that point? Maybe we've got some type of automation and manual touch points that need to happen over the next couple of months. And it helps keep you and your admin organized. Now, the best thing of all of this, though, is me as the practice owner, is I can actually pop in at any given moment. I can open Go High Level and I can see exactly where leads are in our pipeline. And I can segment it over the last week, or I can segment it over the last month. And I can just get a quick snapshot. I can even download reports if I want to, but I can get a quick snapshot of where each lead is in the life cycle. And then obviously my admin's reporting this information to me as well. But now I know with good clarity and good certainty how many leads we're getting, how many people are actually booking evals, and where is the drop off happening, so that I know, are we staying within our metrics that we have historical data on at this point? Are we falling within those metrics, or is something different, right? For example, recently, Facebook ads for whatever reason have gotten a little bit more expensive, me having an end of week report and having our CRM really helps me dial that in, because I can go into our CRM. Our admin's like, hey, leads are kind of slow. I go in, I look at it, and I'm like, well, yeah, leads are kind of slow. Like we're 20% down for some reason this week. Let me go in and tweak our ads, right? Or, hey, I was talking to some of our therapists in the clinic, and they were like, hey, I'm having more people object to insurance and cost for some reason. Great. Let me go back and find who those people are in the pipeline. Where did they come from? Were they colder traffic? Were they warmer traffic? And oh yeah, my phone calls are all recorded in there as well. And so now I've got one centralized location that I can handle most of the challenges as it relates to the front desk. Not I've got 4,000 Google spreadsheets and Excel sheets and stuff is just strolled everywhere. That's a mess, and it's things we definitely don't want to have happen. Now, that's the first big tool, is we want to get a CRM in place. Got to have one. The next tool that I use to really help elevate our front desk is what is something in Google Forms. It's super simple. It's what I call an end of week report. Now, when we first started, we also did an end of day report, and I think that could be super common as well. But this one absolutely changed everything for me, because now I had my admin keeping herself accountable, because she's going to send a report and she's going to be able to look at these numbers that have our goal targets on there. And then I get sent that every single week. And so I know the health and kind of how my admin's feeling, and I know the health of the practice, and I know exactly what's going on at the end, at one point at the end of the day, and now at the end of the week, because we have an established trust and we've got an established good quality track record where I don't need to see it at the end of every day. But some of you guys need that early on. You need to have a simple process. And so basically what I did was I used Google Forms, which is super easy. It's right under Google Sheets and the Google suite of your email. You literally just click down and click Forms, and you're going to create a simple form that helps. Maybe you list certain metrics that you want to see or want to know about. Maybe you list certain key objections that might commonly come up on the phone, and your admin can actually list the names of the people that gave this objection, right? And now you can go back and audit those phone calls. And this is the exact thing that I go in and look at every single week. And this tool's completely free, right? Like it's not like it's something super fancy. I mean, if you've got other survey things that you like to use, feel free to use those as well. But you want to create an end of week report where I'm tracking the amount of evals I've booked, what were the total number of leads that we got, what kind of objections were we getting this week. All of this information helps me know exactly what's happening at up front at the front desk. And if I can know what's happening at the end of a week, then I don't have to get 2 months down the line freaking out that my practice is not as busy as I need it to be, because that's scary, right? It's like we want to know, if you were like traveling on a trip somewhere and you got off course, like you want your GPS to tell you immediately, right? And instead, like the old school way, which is like I'm gonna print some like map quest directions or pull like a hard map out, like you wouldn't know. Especially if it's nighttime, like you wouldn't know if you made a wrong turn. And what you don't want to have happen is your front desk made a wrong turn and you don't know about it until it's too late. I've seen this happen with practice owners with like collections before as well, where it's like, hey, we were supposed to be collecting from patients, and then like at the end of 2 months, they realized, hey, we've got like $5,000 to $10,000 in uncollected like charges that just maybe never recollected, right? Thankfully, they were able to recoup some of it, but these again are things that you want to find when you're getting off course immediately, and that's what an end of week report does for you. What are the most common drivers for your practice? What are the things you need to put into that so that you ultimately have a pulse at the end of every single week and you know the moment that you step off as opposed to, weeks down the line. This is especially big for objections. I've done this the wrong way so many times in my practice where it's like, well, the schedule's not as full as I need it to be. We're getting as many leads. Like, what's the problem? And it's like, well, I've been getting a lot of insurance objections. Okay, well, now that opens up the opportunity for me to train my front desk and to revamp our script and to really like revamp the process and the way that we do things, right? And this has been a game changer for clarity. Because now the other thing that happens is my front desk says, hey, I've been getting a lot of objections. She'll write that in her report and she'll shoot me a message. Hey, can we meet sometime next week? I've been getting a lot of objections and just want to figure out how to fix those. And that provides me so much peace of mind as a practice owner and something that I don't have to worry about at that point. Now, we've got a CRM, we've got an end of week report. Use any survey piece that you want. Google Forms works great for us. The last piece of this is I want to have some type of software to be able to record our processes. Again, most of these recording softwares are completely free. Some of them are native to your computer. But what I typically use, I use Zoom Clips because it's free with my Zoom subscription that I pay for. But you can use Loom, that's a common one. You can use like QuickTime if you're a Mac person, and I'm sure Windows has some capability as well. You just need to be able to record your screen. And what this allows me to do is if my admin is unsure of a process, or if a question pops up, it's a really easy place for that person to go learn the information first, or just to revamp, their ideas around something. Like I've got a very particular way I like objections to be handled. And I want my admin to be on top of her game. And if I listen to a call and that's not what's being executed, then hey, I want to first start with you going back to through some of the training that we have designed, right? And I've used Zoom clips and I've literally recorded step by step exactly how I handle various objections. And when we get those various objections handled well, great. Now maybe there's a different, once she's listened to that training, now maybe there's some other either additional training or coaching that I need to do or some mindset shifting of things. but now our time is much better spent. So instead of me constantly going over the same information over and over, we can actually have high level, connection when we are having a meeting to go over things. And so instead of me, there's nothing worse than covering things five, six, seven times, right? Like you can only lead somebody so much. And if I've showed them five times and they've watched all these videos, it's like, hey, maybe this person's just not getting it, and we need to make a move, right? But this provides so much clarity, and it honestly it adds valuation to your business long term as you go to sell things. Or even better, if you have turnover at the front desk, you've got this stuff already built out, right? And so, what are sort of some common things that I put in there, right? I put practice phone calls that we've taken. I've put phone calls that I've personally taken into our practice so they know exactly how to handle it. Some of our scripts, some of our processes for handling patients who cancel and reschedule. Like, what are the common things that the front desk do? And maybe you start with one or two of them and you just start recording. You just talk over whatever something you're doing frequently, hit the record button, and now you have a system and a process for actually being able to replicate that in the future. That way, you're not constantly going over the same thing over and over and over again. And now, again, when I do need that admin to learn some things, hey, go back to the training, and then we can get down to the nitty gritty and have a high level conversation as opposed to rehashing ideas. So those are the three tools. Now that you have those, it's going to help you, basically make your front desk more productive, right? The next step is once I've got some level of productivity, I actually need to be able to convert the leads that are coming in, right? And so you can click the next video on the screen and basically how to handle, insurance objections. Do you take my insurance? I need to think about that. Now, your front desk is going to be dropping the ball and leaving money on the table. Implement these three tools, check out some of these insurance objection videos, and that's going to get you rolling in the right direction. We'll see you next time.